In this video, I'm going to teach you how to create a form in Access. A form allows you to see one record at a time. It would be similar to when you go to, say, the doctor's office or the dentist's office, and when you check in, the receptionist wants to see only your information. And that's how we do that. That's through Form View. So I would like you to open your names and addresses table, please, and we're going to practice creating a form together. When you're done with this video, you're going to show me that you have indeed created this practice form, and there's going to be one form assignment that you are going to complete, which I'll explain at the end of the video. That will be a salmon colored handout. So let's go ahead and get started. As before, just as we did when we wanted to create, say, a new table as part of this members database, you'll come to your Create tab, but this time we're going to create a form. And you'll notice with the form that there's a split form or multiple items and form design. We're going to just create or click on this form button to begin with. The method I'm showing you is what I feel is kind of the easiest way to grasp this. So just switch the view that you see from the table view into form view by selecting form. And what you're seeing here is it took all of the field categories that we had as part of our table, any that we didn't have hidden. It took the name of our table and plugged it in right here at the top, sort of as a header, but that's actually the name of our form. It listed all of our field categories and then a kind of a big chunk of space for the information. And if I want to see the different records that I have, I can go ahead and just scroll through this way. It tells me how many records, how far I'm going. If there's any particular names or whatever that I want to search for, I can type them in here and it will find that one record for me. I'm just going to go back to record 1 of 9 now. By the way, notice in the extra information, that's the field category we've formatted as a memo. Notice how that provides a much larger space for us to enter information in. Well, I want to take this form now and I want to customize it because, for example, I'm thinking, I want to move some of these field categories to different spots on my form. Maybe I want to add a clip art or whatever. There are some existing auto formats that you can choose from as far as, just some design pieces. As you can see that if you choose any of these, it'll automatically change the color schemes to match that particular choice, or you can do it yourself. Notice when we are in Form View here, we have a Form tab and an Arrange tab to work with. I'm going to go right now and I'm going to switch to Design View, which is going to allow me to make some changes. And Design View, first of all, I am no longer seeing or have access to the individual information as far as the records I have. It just gives me a block for all of the field categories and a block of space for all of the places to enter that information. Now, the first thing I'm thinking I want to do is, other than extra information, I really don't need these big wide chunks of space to enter. Right now, all of these field categories are connected on my form, which means if I come over to the side here and mouse over where I get just a two-sided arrow, whoops, I'm moving the whole thing. Let me try that again. Let's see if that's going to work this way for me again. Okay, once again, if I just choose the right side and I get just one of these selected, but I move it, you can see it's resizing all of my this would be now the places that would show the information. They're all connected, okay? And if I want to move or resize something independently, here's how I do that. I come to my Arrange box, and let's say I'm thinking about my organization of this particular form, and I'm thinking, okay, last name, first name, address, city, state, zip, those would all be good right at the left side because that's the important pieces of information. Maybe starting with extra information, birth date, card sent, favorite color, those pieces I might want to put over on the right hand side because they aren't as pertinent as what I have on the left hand side. But as I'm looking at this also, I'm saying, yep, a good space for the address box and maybe a big space for the city would be good. But you know, when I come to state, I'd like to make that entry box narrower because I'm going to encourage the data entry people to use a 2-letter state abbreviation. So I select state and I say I want to remove it from this controlled block, or where it's all kind of connected together. So I have just that one thing selected. I click on remove, and you can see now it kind of moved zip code over the top, didn't it? And so I think what I'm going to need to do actually before I solve that problem is I'm going to come down here to salary. I'm going to remove salary, and then I'm going to come and I'm going to click and drag. Do you see how I'm taking these? When I move them, I'm taking the little blocks, which allows me to do that, and I'm going to resize salary because I don't think I need as much space. I'm going to come here to favorite color. I'm going to remove that, and I'm now going to move favorite color over here to the right. And I know that my color choices aren't that wide, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to, when I get my double arrow, I'm going to make the space for favorite color be much narrower. Card sent, I'm going to select that, and I'm going to drag that. Oops, I didn't remove it, therefore I did not. I'm going to drag it over here also. And because all I have is that little checkbox, yep, we're good here. I'm going to take birth date, I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to move it over here. And you know, you could use your grid lines. I'm doing it kind of quick, so mine isn't aligned very well, but I could use the grid lines to do that. I'm going to come and resize this a little bit. I don't think I'll need more space than that. And this extra information, I'm going to remove it and maybe just place it here. And then I'm going to resize this extra information box now not only narrower, but maybe a little taller like this. Okay, so remember, all I'm doing it, and now at this point, I'll be able to take zip code. I need to move that down, so I'm going to grab it so I can move it down, and then state was right behind it. Okay, and I know I don't need as much space for my zip code. That's only, I'm not going to use the extra numbers. I know I don't need much space for state, but all the rest of these look good as far as how I've placed them and their sizes and so on. Now, while I'm still in design mode, if I would like to maybe add italics, let's say, to all of my field categories, or maybe change my font color for my field categories, if you hold your shift key down, you're able to select a whole bunch of these field category titles. And then if you go back to your home tab, you could say, all right, I'd like those italicized, and maybe I'd like the field categories to be in a dark blue or something like that to help set them off. I'm not going to do that right here, or I could, but that would just change how the data for each individual record appeared. Remember, we're not seeing any individual records right now. We're only seeing the design of this form. Okay, and let's say I'm happy with that information. I had applied a theme to this one, but if I wanted to manually change the background color, I could just go to the bucket that we've used before, find the shade that I like, and change the background color. Okay, if I come back to design view now, and let's see, I want to add a little note here, let's say, kind of similar to a text box, and this is a little confusing here. With the Design tab arranged, notice how there's a text box feature and a label, but the text box assumes I want to add another field category, which I do not. So in this case, it makes sense. If I want to leave a little note here that's going to appear on every single one of these, I select Label, I come to the spot in my form where I want to add that little note, and then I'm able to type that information in. Enter updated information in form, or whatever the case might be. And when I'm done, you know, if I created too big a box for this, if you click to get the handlebars, then you could resize it. Now I might want to add a picture. Maybe, I want a company logo to appear on every one of my forms when either I open them up or if I may print them out. With the Design tab selected, notice that we've got a whole bunch of buttons of different things that we can do here. The button to add a image is that is not the one I want. There we go. It's the one right here where it says image. Okay, so I can select that button and I can click and drag to create the space for that image. Now the thing that's different in Access is it's not going to open up your clip art so that you can search for something. You have to pre-save an image to your directory. Okay, so in order to practice this, if you need to, you'll need to pause and save something to your directory. Just so happens I have some pictures in mind, so I'm going to navigate there. Once I drew the size that I wanted my image to be, which I can adjust, I'm now getting into my pictures. And I happen to have an awesome picture here, which I'll wait a moment for. Just a moment for all of these to load. And my awesome picture is this. In case you ever wondered, can Walner hear what's going on in the class? And the answer to that is why, yes, she can. And anyway, so this is how any changes, once again, to your form that you want to make to layout, you do that when you're in Design View, which we are in. Any changes that you want to make to font and appearance and those kinds of things you can make right here, and you just need to have something selected and then you're able to change it, whether it be any font changes or any fill changes or those kinds of things. And then remember, anything that if you want to move anything around, you have to first select that piece and tell it that you'd like to do that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and name this form something different, and what I'm trying to do here is I was thinking I was going to see basically the equivalent of a header here that should have been at the top, but I'm not seeing that right now, and I'm thinking I must have deselected something with that header. So and I'm going to close this property sheet out because I don't need that. Let's see. Okay, I'm not going to delete that. All right, very good. Well, I'm going to come back to that later then in order to change that. But what I'm going to do right now is I do want to save this form. And you can see that it automatically called itself names and addresses, but I'm going to call it my address form. I'm going to use the word form with it. And you're going to notice when we save it, it saves in your list of all possible formats that you can open. It saves it as with this kind of look like this. Okay, so now I have this form and you'll see that it exists right here. So I'm going to go back to my view and I'm going to switch to form view now. And here's where it grabbed once again the names and addresses pieces, and I'm going to go back in case I wanted to change that. But this is what my form looks like. And as I navigate through, I'm able to see each person's information. And let's see, eventually when I get to a blank form, then I'd be able to add in some information for a new person, whatever that might be. But you can see that this label stayed right here and the image stayed on every single one of these. Remember, I'm in form view right now, so if I wanted to switch back to design view, there we go. Now that form header is showing. And if I wanted to name this something other than names and addresses, whatever that might be, maybe I'm just going to call it patients or clients or whatever, I can make that change here. And then when I switch back to form view, I now have that as part of my the title that I see on every single page as I go through this. Once again, if I click on this asterisk one, that brings up a new blank record. And so that is how you create a form. In the next video, I'm going to explain both your form assignment and the final Access assignment that you will be working on.